The showers from April aren't just bringing May flowers, no, they're bringing a new top 10 free-to-play characters for the month of May 2020 in Marvel Strike Force. And if you guys are ready to see what has changed on this list over the past month, guys, you know what to do. Let's go smash it.
ValleyFlyin.
Valley Maniacs, what is up? ValleyFlyin here. I am back. Welcome to the channel. I hope you are staying safe at home. It is May, and that means it has been about a month or so since the last time we counted down the top 10 free-to-play characters in Marvel Strike Force, which we are going to do in just a little bit, guys. But before we get to that, I want to thank all of you guys that watched this video last month and gave it a thumbs up. It is usually one of the more popular and liked videos of the month, so I do want to thank you guys. But that list is done, and it is time for a new list because it is a new month. There have been some changes in the game since that last video. There have been a few characters that have made farmable. We had this whole Red Star rework, so the values of some characters got shifted a little bit. So how much is that going to shake up the list? We will see. But before we get to this list, guys, I want to talk about who's not eligible, because there's a lot of good characters on here that are not going to be eligible for this list. I had to draw the line somewhere. What makes a character free to play, what not, and I drew the line at if they have a node or if they're available in a store. They are considered free to play, at least for the purposes of this list. Yes, you can get most, if not all, of these legendary characters without spending a dime. You can get a lot of the other characters as well. And there's some characters on this list that aren't even in the game yet, just data mined. Right now, Beast, Red Guardian, not even available, not even showing up in the game. So yes, all these characters not eligible for this list. Exceptions to this is Iron Man, because his event is not like these normal legendaries that only pop up every so often. You could always get him as soon as you get those characters. So he is eligible. Also Hulk, Wolverine, I made them eligible a while ago, but yes, you can get shards for them every single day technically. So I did consider them farmable, at least for the purposes of this list. And we got a few characters that were just made eligible for this list within the past month. These include Carnage and Thanos, both available now because of the new Nexus chapter that recently got added to the game. Carnage on Nexus chapter 8-6. Thanos chapter 8 and 9, or node 8 and 9, excuse me, is where you can farm them. And Crystal, our girl, just got added to the arena store yesterday. So all of these characters are eligible for the top 10. Are they strong enough to make it this month? We will see, guys. So those are the characters that are not eligible and the characters that have recently been made eligible for this list. But how do I determine my list? Now, if you've watched any of these videos before, you know how I determine this list. But if you're new to this, well, a lot of this list is going to be based on my personal usage of these characters over the past month. The characters that I'm using a lot get weighed higher, and the characters that I'm not using a lot, even if they have a really, really good kit, they may not even be on this list. So your list may be totally different than mine when you take that into account. And for me, I weigh arena viable characters and Ultimate 7 viable characters with a little more weight. So that is my personal bias on this list. I want to know who your top 10 is this month. But let's get to the countdown, guys.
Number 10.
Coming in at number 10 is my symbiote buddy, Venom. Yes, and he's a character that has gotten a lot more usage for me over this past month, using him a lot in that symbiote team, and they are one of my favorite teams to use, so they get a little more nod from me. Now, I'm not using them in Arena or Ultimate 7, but I do use them a lot in Blitz and in War. Very good War team, and he's actually a character that I'm thinking of taking into Dark Dimension 3. Let's go take a look at his kit and see what makes him so good. All right, and one of the reasons I really like Venom, guys, is that every single one of his skills, as you can see here, is pretty good and adds some value to his character. Some characters have some wasted skills. Venom, not the case. He flips positive effects with his basic here. He has ability block with his special. He has the ability to spread debuffs, which works very good with his synergy with that symbiote team. With his ultimate, heal blocks as well, just does a lot of damage, and his passive helps that team out as well, giving the defense up for 2 turns with that T4 in there, and he has some self-healing as well. So very, very good character, getting a lot of usage for me in 2 of the main 4 game modes. And if you want to start to farm Venom, he's available on Nexus 6-9.
Number 9.
And coming in at number 9 is one of the best utility characters in the game, in my opinion, and that is Falcon. Now, his usage has fallen off for me, but he is still a very, very valuable backup for Arena. I still see him sometimes on Arena defense. Very valuable backup for the Ultimate 7 raids, so still gets a nod, but I'm using him primarily nowadays in War and in Blitz. Let's go take a look at his kit. All right, guys, so when I think of Falcon, I think of one move, and that is his special Red Wing. The extra speed that he brings to the team is so good. Filling the speed bar for self and allies by 30%. Plus, and this is big depending on who you're going against, especially if it's like an Ultron team or a team that you might see in Ultimate 7, 10% extra speed bar for every enemy with a positive effect. This is a game changer. This is a turn-based game, so extra speed is gonna do you good. He has a good basic as well with some bonus attacks for positive effects. He has a big AoE attack on his ultimate with some extra bonus attacks for positive effects on the enemies. So yes, he is a character that makes good use of positive effects on the enemy team. He could turn the tide against them. So he has a lot of value. He has some good bonuses that he gets from his passive as well. So very, very good character. And if you want to start to farm Falcon, he's available on Nexus 7.3.
Number 8.
And coming in at number 8 is another one of our symbiote buddies, Carnage. Now, he's been off this list for a while, but as I'm starting to use this Spider-Verse team, obviously Symbiote Spider-Man is the most valuable member of that team, but I'm thinking that second most valuable member is Carnage. And when we take a look at his kit, I will explain why. But I'm using him a lot like Venom, using him a lot in Blitz, using him a lot in War, and he is another character that I'm thinking of building up for Dark Dimension 3. But let's go take a look at his kit and see why he made the list this month. So Carnage has always had a very good kit, but for me personally, I've not really seen the value in Carnage until I started to put a little more resources in him this past month, even put a T4 in this passive. And for me, this is what gave him the nod over Venom, is I like Carnage's passive a little better. I think it helps out that whole team a little more. And what it does, when an enemy drops below 25% health, fill the speed bar by 30% for self and all symbiote allies, healing for 10% of this character's max health. So very, very good passive. Helps that team out a lot, helps with their survivability, and helps with their speed, especially on teams that die a lot, like a Hydra team, like a Asgardian team with those Gregs. It makes them possible to counter these teams in War, as long as you're not punching up too much. The rest of his kit, very good as well. He spreads negative effects with Cleave, so his basic does some good stuff. He has a big damaging move with his special, and his ultimate bleeds, spreading more bleeds to the enemy. It's not really spreading, but you're also applying bleeds to the enemy. So another big damage move. I think his kit is awesome. And yes, I didn't really see the value in him too much. Wasn't really getting a lot for him, but as soon as I started investing more in him and he is building up more and more, yes, Carnage, I think is a little more valuable than Venom in my opinion, although you could argue either way. So when we look at Carnage, one of the big drawbacks to him is where he is farmable, and that is the War Store, one of the hardest places to farm characters in Marvel Strike Force. Not only because those war resources, those war credits, they're so limited, but it's also because it's like the raid store where only 3 characters pop up at a time. So you may get some very bad luck and not see this character for a while. So that would be the main drawback to Carnage. But yes, if you're investing in a Spider-Verse team or at least a symbiote team, very, very good character to have on that team.
Number 7.
And coming in at number 7 is probably one of my favorite glass cannons in this game. It is Pyro. High damage, low health, very easy to kill, but he could cripple a team with all the bleeds, all the damage that he does. Now, I'm not using him in a variety of game modes. I do use him in the Greek raid, so he does get a little bit of a notch over some of my Spider-Verse characters. But primarily for me, Pyro and the rest of that Brotherhood 2.0 team is a War team, and it is a Blitz team. Not a lot of Pyros I'm seeing right now in Arena. Let's go take a look at his kit, see what makes him so good. When I think of Pyro, damage comes to mind, as it should with any other glass cannon. And there's 2 main moves that I invested the T4s in that I think up that entire Brotherhood team. The first is Pyrotechnics, where you're applying some damage, you're applying bleeds, but more importantly, I think you're clearing 2 positive effects from each target. So that is all adjacent targets. That goes perfectly with Magneto's ultimate, bringing everybody together. Firecrafting is usually the move you're going to use on his second turn, applying that to the adjacent and primary targets, disrupted for 2 turns. So yes, like I said, this counters shield so well, both the initial shield team and the new version with Coulson and the rest of the shield characters. So yes, both of these skills make Pyro so valuable to that entire team. He's getting extra focus. He's also applying heal block when the enemy drops below 50% when Magneto is an ally. So does some good stuff and just a lot of damage. Now the main drawback to Pyro is pretty much the same main drawback as you will get with Carnage. They're both available in that war store, which is not a very player-friendly farming store to get. So yes, you can get him a war store, but it's not an easy farm, guys. So if you're going for Brotherhood, I suggest starting off as soon as possible.
Number 6.
Oh, and coming in at number 6 is my favorite rodent on this entire list. It is another glass cannon rocket, Raccoon, and he is an integral part of that BKT or Guardians team, whatever you want to run him on. Now, I'm using him in both, actually. In the Greek raids, I'm using him BKT. In the war on offense, I'm using him in BKT to punch down against some Hydra teams. So that BKT team, even in the late game, is still seeing a lot of value, and I'm using him in a Guardians team in the Blitz. So still getting a lot of use out of Rocket. Very, very good kit. Let's go take a look at it. All right, when I think of Rocket Raccoon, I think of his big ultimate 4-turn cooldowns for a very, very big AoE attack. And like I said, if you're pairing him with Star-Lord, pairing him with Thanos, giving him extra energy, this is something in the right scenario you could use every single turn. So this is just a lot of damage, guys. And when Groot is an ally, he's getting extra damage. He's also applying a taunt to Groot with his special if Groot is an ally. And you're getting an extra assist. You're getting an extra attack when Groot is an ally. So it makes sense to run him with Groot. He's got a good basic as well. And he's got extra damage for tech characters with his passive. And yeah, he has a chance, 40% chance to apply offense up to 2 random allies. So does a lot of good. Not just the AoE, but the rest of his kit is pretty good as well. And he's available in just probably the second hardest place to farm a character, and that is from the raid store. Again, it's not as limiting as far as the credits as the war store, but you still got only 3 characters to pop up at a time, so it may be a while before you ever see him, or you may see him all the time. So raid store for Rocket Raccoon. If you're building the BKT or Guardians, I think he's essential to both of these teams.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Graviton, and I think his kit is so solid, bringing some damage, bringing some utility, that made me want to rate him above some of the characters that I'm using in these Greek raids, like Pyro, like Rocket. Even though I'm not using him in all the game modes, I think what he brings to each of his teams is so much. And where I'm using him is the Blitz mode in a full aim team, and he brings a lot to that team. And I'm using him in War in an Aimtron team, so subbing out Monstrosity for Ultron, and what he brings to that team is a lot. So that is why he got a little higher spot, even though his usage is a little less. Let's go take a look at his kit and see why I rated him a little higher than these other characters. When I think of Graviton, I think of a turn 1 stun. Not many characters in the game have a turn 1 stun. He does on his ultimate. He is applying 300% damage, 100% damage for each additional negative effect. So very, very good for that aim team or any other team that has a lot of negative effects that they spread and applying that stun. He's got a slow that he does to the primary and adjacent targets. And his basic also makes use of a lot of negative effects on the enemy team. So it does 100% extra damage for each negative effect on the target. So it does some good things. But not only does he do all of this damage and apply these negative effects, he also does some good stuff with his passive. And that is what I want to talk about right now. When an enemy drops below 50% health, he's going to increase the duration of their negative effects by +1 up to a maximum of 5. And in an aim team, or another team that you might be using him on with a lot of negative effects, this is huge. This can be a battle changer right there. Aim minions, he's giving them more damage. He's giving them more health. And in war, yeah, he's reducing the speed bar of the enemy with the highest speed by 25%. And when an enemy drops below 75%, he's going to apply Disrupted to them. So very, very good character. A lot of utility, a lot of damage. Unfortunately, he's also in that war store. A lot of best characters, unfortunately, are farmable in that war store. Graviton is another one of these characters. So yes, very, very hard farm, but that is where you can get him. And if you're building an aim team or Aimtron team or one of those variants, he's a necessary character for that team. Scientist Supreme, Graviton, and Aim Security. Those are the 3 key members of that team. So yes, he farm him.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Colossus. And he is one of the most important parts of one of the best teams in the game, that X-Men team. Phoenix, the most important part, but he protects Phoenix and allows her to do her thing. So He's an important part of that team. And I use that team in a lot of game modes. Let's talk about Blitz and War, because this is where they're going to shine. Blitz 8.3 with X-Men. No problem. Fully auto that mode. Huge punch-ups you need in War. That X-Men team could do it, and it is a lot to do with Phoenix. Now, I don't use him a lot in Arena, but I see him a lot on defense, so I'm facing him in Arena all the time. So he gets a nod for that game mode. I don't really use him in Ultimate 7, but I do use him in the Greek raids a lot. And he is a character that I'm building up for Dark Dimension 3. So a lot of value, a lot of versatility, a lot of game modes that I want to be using this character in. Let's go take a look at his kit and see what makes him so valuable. And when I think of Colossus, I think of protecting Phoenix and that X-Men team. And he does that with two moves in particular, guys. His special and his ultimate. Normally, I open with his ultimate, which is going to extend the positive effects on him by 3, giving him death proof, giving him charge. Once in a while, though, it is more appropriate to open with a special. Depending on what happens to Phoenix in that opening turn, he's going to give him self-taunt, he's going to give normal Phoenix taunt, and he's giving deflect to the other X-Men allies. He's got some good damage on his basic here, guys. And his passive is a wall of text. He's got an auto taunt on it, though, and he's got extra health for him and his X-Men allies, plus a bunch of other things that you could read here. Just a very, very good character and a very good part of that X-Men team. Now, if you want to farm him, kind of a later game farm, you got to be at least level 70 to get to Heroes Chapter 7, but he's available if you can get there on Heroes 7-9, and I would recommend farming him, especially if you are working on your X-Men team.
Number 3.
Number 3 is our boy Vision. Yes, he is still on this list at number 3. His kit is so solid, guys, that it's really hard to move him down, even if my usage over the past few months hasn't been as much as it has been in the past. But very, very strong character. Obviously, he is on a very strong War team right now. That may change once Ironheart comes to the game, but as of now, this past month, integral part of that power armor team for War and for Blitz. 8.3 wins, yes, they can do it. War, big punch-ups, yes, they can do it against certain teams. And he's been a backup for me in Ultimate 7 for a while now. Once in a while, I will use him in those Greek raids. And sometimes I do see him in Arena. So still getting a lot of usage throughout the game. Still viable in a lot of game modes. But yeah, he is coming in number 3. Not because of usage, though. I do use him, but it is his kit. He has a very solid kit. Let's go take a look at it. Vision has one of the best 1-2 combos in the game, guys. His opening move is his special, applying ability block to the primary and adjacent target. 1 additional target. He's getting Solar Beam with his second move, and that is clearing 2 positive effects off of each target on an AoE attack. Very, very strong. He's got some bleeds and some good damage on his basic. And this is why he is so annoying. This is why I want to kill him first whenever I see him on an enemy team. Gaining 20% extra dodge. And when he's on an enemy team, it seems like that number is a lot higher than 20%. But he's also gaining defense up, and tech allies are also gaining defense up. 2 turns for both of them, guys, and he's a very good character. Does a lot. So probably next month, you will see him on either a tech team for me or an Avengers team for me. And if you want to farm him, kind of a later game farm as well, guys. Mystic 3-9, so that is where you could farm him. Not sure where he's going to be used, but if you want to start to build up your Vision, Mystic 3-9 is where you could get him.
Number 2.
Number 2, Scientist Supreme. And this is a very high usage character for me, guys. Using her in the main game modes of Blitz, on that AIM team, using her in War, in that AIM-Tron team. And we talked about this with Graviton. She is one of the most valuable characters on each of those teams. But where she gets a nod over some of these other characters is because I'm using her every single day in Ultimate 7. She's on my primary Ultimate 7 team. And just for that alone, she should be in this top 10. But the reason she is at number 2 is because she has a very solid kit. Let's go take a look at it. Debuffs all around is what I think of with Scientist Supreme. She does that with her ultimate right here. One of the most biggest screw you moves in the game, not just to yourself, but to the enemies as well. Applying 2 to 3 random negative effects to all non-aim allies or allies and enemies for 2 turns. So no negative effects on an aim team, but yeah, when you're outside of an aim team, you're getting a lot of negative effects on you. So it is a big risk, but usually if you time it right, it pays off because she's going to flip those negative effects, at least 4 of them for your team with her specials. So very good stuff there. And this move, I did the T4 on this. Now, I don't think it's that valuable on an aim team because they're not going to be having a lot of negative effects on them anyway. But if you're using it outside of an aim team, like I'm using her in Ultimate 7, This, I think, was a very, very good investment. She also applies negative effects with her basic, but what also makes her very good, not just all the negative effects and the flipping of negative effects on your team, it is the regeneration chance. Yes, you have a 25% chance to revive an ally with 20% max health. More of it's an aim team, but yes, solid kid around. A lot of usage from Scientist Supreme. So if you don't have her on your roster yet, and you're thinking about going to Ultimate 7 very soon, or you're thinking about building an AIM or Aimtron team, I think she's a must for all of those things. Cosmic 29 is where you could farm her.
Number 1.
Hela was number 1 last month. She is number 1 again this month. And my usage has actually increased for Hela over the past month. And I think a lot of that has to do with that Red Star rework. Not really using Ultron so much in Ultimate 7. Hela has moved to my primary Ultimate 7 team. Also using her every single day in Dark Dimension 3. So very, very good. Solid part of that Asgardian team. So Blitz, auto win, War, very strong defense team. And if your opponents are misjudging that, you can pick up a lot of defensive wins from that. But I'm seeing her a lot in Arena as well. I don't use her on Arena offense, but I do see her on Arena defense. And yes, very, very strong character. I know a lot of people are still using her on Arena offense. So very strong character. And one thing I did for her this month was to buy a 5th Red Star in that Red Star store. So yes, Red Stars made her more powerful. I got her even more powerful with some of the silver promotion credits that I have saved up. And let's go see why she is so powerful. And when I think of Hela, a lot of her value doesn't just come from her kit. It comes from Greg, summoning that undead Asgardian from her passive. I think that is the main thing that she brings with her passive, but yeah, she does a lot of other stuff with it as well. But the main thing I think is Greg. The rest of her kit, not too shabby either. Death Knives. It is a big AoE attack that spreads negative effects from the primary target to everyone else, plus some big damage. Very, very strong ultimate. Probably one of my favorite ultimates in the game. Her special, pretty good as well. I did a T4 on this because what the T4 does, instead of disrupted on 1 turn, it goes disrupted on 2 turns. And she's getting an assist from Greg. And her basic, very good as well. Some good damage, flipping death proofs, and a double tap to the most injured enemy as well. So very, very strong kit. And if you want to farm Hela, very integral part of that Asgardian teams and necessary for Black Bolt. You can farm her on Villains 7-6. So that is the list for May 2020 top 10 free-to-play characters. Does it match your list? I know a lot of it is based on my personal usage, so there's a lot of personal bias in my list. So I want to hear from you. What is your top 10 free-to-play characters for this month? Let me know in the comments, guys, and I will see you guys next time. At least 4 Marvel Strike Force videos per week on this channel. So make sure, if you have not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and smash that notification bell. Ring that bell, guys, so you get notified every time a new video goes up. There's some links down below that support the channel, Valley merch, BlueStacks, some other things. Check those out, and I will see you guys next time. Make sure you guys check me out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and give me a Hulk fist bump before you go ValleyFlyin.